I was sitting here watching a clip. It was a clip of Joe Manchin on CNN. Joe Manchin has been big dicking it lately. What do I mean by that? Big dicking it. He has been perfectly okay, meaning he has been perfectly okay saying, no, I don't like this. Drop my leave. And where Biden and Democrats basically need every vote to count. And you have Biden saying, I want $15 an hour minimum wage. You have the House saying, okay, we're going to put $15 an hour minimum wage in it. And you get Manchin basically saying, yeah, I'm not for that. And then you get, when Biden is coming out with this secondary deal, this 29% tax rate, Manchin is like, yeah, that's too high. I'm not for that. One fucking guy comes out and says, I'm not for that. 560,000 Americans have died. And in the context of trying to pass something that deals with the pain and hardship of the public itself, of the people that were left behind, Joe Manchin didn't believe that the American public, the workers in this country, were worth $15 an hour, that their labor, that the amount of time that they spent at a particular job, something that they call a starvation wage, that those people weren't worth the $15 an hour. Manchin was perfectly okay doing that. And everybody else let him do it. No issue. Yeah. We called them heroes at one point. But the moment that the virus is the main thrust of it, the 5,000 people dying is past. The moment that's passed, well, we don't need the heroes like that anymore. So when it comes down to ensuring that those people get a decent wage, no, we don't need that now. Manchin was the guy that was probably the most vocal in taking that out. The question becomes, was it determinative? Meaning, was it no opposition to that? Why is it that one individual in the Senate can do that? And I understand that the rules of the Senate and the House are structured in different ways, so fair enough. And that they need every vote, so they have to get 50-50, fair enough. By the same token, you can find a balance to that, especially if you're talking about what's in the House and the people who supposedly wanted the $15 an hour. Where are the radicals? What happened to the radicals? Weren't there the people who they was like, oh my God, they're going to come to Congress and they're just going to rip the doors off the hinges of Congress? Where are those people? Where are those people? I don't see those people. And especially in the context of stuff like this. You get $15 an hour minimum wage put up in a bill when you get the opportunity to pass it. It goes throughout the House. The President of the United States says he wanted it. I don't care if he was lying or not. I don't care at all. The fact that he said it. And is Joe Biden going to repudiate Joe Biden for saying that he wanted $15 an hour minimum wage? Is he going to repudiate himself as a candidate? Is he going to repudiate himself as president? Manchin and one of the others take it out. But I'm making the point that the Democrats in the House, supposedly the radicals of the bunch, let it ride. Nobody says anything else about it. Everybody claps. Joe Biden! Joe Biden! After the bill was passed, and the fact that, 40 million people just got shafted? Didn't matter. And the press, who none of which earn less than some godly amount of sum, never asked about it. Didn't care. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Joe Manchin is out here getting all of this publicity because he has been perfectly okay and wielding the power in the Senate. Meaning he had no compunction at all about saying, yes, Mr. President can go fuck himself. That's not going to pass. No, it's not. One man. And yet you get something like forced to vote and they're dodgy about it. Not just dodgy about it in a way where they would make an argument to say, well, look, forced to vote has no chance of getting Medicare for all. Which, look, I got to be honest, I don't care. This is kind of gets to the reason of why I was for it in the first place. My point, if you look back to my videos, was that it allows you to get a feel of power. You get to understand the degrees to which you have leverage in space. You're already considered radicals. You're already considered the far left. You're not going to ever get rid of that. So play into it. If you have power in that capacity to do something and force and push in order to get something, you should do it. Because in every situation, they're going to do that to you. That's just the rules of it in the way that it's set up. It's the reason why AOC didn't give the money to the DCCC, because they tried to shaft her and was going to blacklist people like her going forward. Meaning, if you understand that they hate you so much so that the DSCC and the DCCC putting rules in place to prevent people from like you, meaning the members of SWAT, from ever coming into being again, and yet you're not going to leverage that. That's a waste of power, and it's aggravating to see, especially juxtaposed against Joe Manchin, who has no issue at all leveraging that power. And I know people say, oh, but he's in the Senate. It doesn't matter. Whether you're one individual or whether you're a group, let's say, I don't know, like a squad or maybe even a caucus, where there's 7 or 8 of you that says no. And because the margins in the House are also very narrow, you can also crash the bill, which every bit as much fervor as Joe Manchin can crash the bill. And it was never at once leveraged. That's so aggravating. If you would have at the very least tried force the vote, whether you got Medicare at all is irrelevant. You would have at the very least understood the leverage and the power that you had at your disposal. Yes, they would hate you for it, but they were going to hate you for it anyway. They're going to hate you for it anyway. What do you want to do? Where were the radicals that were back there? Like, we're going to do this, we're going to get Medicare for all, we're going to get a Green New Deal, yes! We got to primary some folks. And now these radicals don't even have the balls to go out there and just do basic things in regards to getting an agenda pass. Yes, you should have pushed on Pelosi. If she wants that seat, she needs to give something up for it. She would have done the same to you. And from the standpoint of $15 an hour minimum wage, that is a betrayal. That is a deep, deep and abiding betrayal to each and every person that backed any of these guys. You had the time and the space and the position to push that through. And no, you couldn't necessarily force Joe Biden to do it. What you could do, however, is either make Joe Biden make a choice and expose himself as a fraud on that, which should have a cost. If Joe Biden lied to the American public in this flagrant way that he was going to push for $15 an hour, he has the power to do it. He doesn't do it. Yes, there should be a cost for him doing that. There is nobody else to make him pay that cost but you, because you're the ones who said that you want it. What matters more? Your allegiance to your party or trying to get that stuff done? And at this point, it seems like the allegiance to the party is the only thing that matters. It is aggravating to fucking watch. Joe Manchin is sitting here giving interviews, big dicking it. 4 guys at a stall, 1 guy come up, 2 yards away from the stall. That's Joe Manchin. It's just shocking that one have no issue using power and the other seems to be terrified of it. Terrified of it. Oh, we have this bright and precious thing that we can't use. We don't know what to do with. We don't know what to do with. It's kind of like I said with Luis Elizondo. Like when he would be on, I don't know, talking to Marie Bartiromo or somebody on CNN. And I was like, you're a waste to those interviewers because they don't get what you are. And it's kind of the way I feel about the political thing. It's like you're in a position to leverage power because there are things that they want and there are things they can't get unless they get your consent. And that consent should not be given cheaply, especially when it's something that you are representing, something that hasn't been represented for fucking ever. 560,000 Americans have died within the context of a year. And we're really quibbling about whether or not people should get $15 an hour or whether or not people should get health care. And now we're going into an infrastructure bill where a Democrat, meaning Joe Biden has all the power in the world. He could have gotten rid of the filibuster. He could have gotten rid of the parliamentarian. He could have pushed Kamala Harris to make that last vote. He could have pulled Joe Manchin in to read him the Riot Act. He could have went out against Joe Manchin saying that he was blocking the bill, that he was stopping mothers from being able to feed their babies, that he was at the food banks, and Joe Manchin is preventing that because he doesn't want workers to get $15 an hour. Think about the other side of that argument for the moment. Think about that for the moment. You're Joe Manchin, and you're arguing that no, I don't think workers should get $15 an hour. And the president of the United States is saying Joe Manchin is stopping mothers from being able to feed their babies because he doesn't want workers, the American workers, the heroes that are out there working for you, getting $15 an hour. What does that look like? That looks like Joe Manchin is going to fucking lose his seat. That's what that looks like, because it looks horrendous. Those people, Joe Manchin doesn't think I'm worth $15 an hour for my labor? I mean, Joe Biden is trying to pass his bill and Joe Manchin is preventing him from passing his bill. I have a kid. I have a hard time feeding my kid. Joe Biden wants to put this provision where I'm getting this money as Joe Manchin is stopping that, all because he doesn't want workers to get $15 an hour? And you can't pursue that argument. No, Joe Biden is never going to pursue that argument because he never fucking believed it. And I don't believe he believed it, but it's almost irrelevant. The fact that he said it in and of itself gives you a political distinction where you can either make him pay a cost or make him do something to get Manchin online. None of that was done. Was it done to force the vote? Was it done on this? And I strongly suspect it's probably not even going to be done on the next infrastructure bill that's coming up. Joe Manchin, right here, CNN. Big dicking it.
Had been attacked.
Capital.
January 6th changed me, and I was very clear with everybody. I never thought in my life, I never read in history books to where our form of government had been attacked at our seat of government, which is Washington, D.C., at our capital by our own people. Now, the British did it, but not Americans. So something told me, wait a minute.
Does Joe Biden not know what does Joe Manchin not know what the Civil War was? Does he not know what the Civil War was?
Pause. Hit the pause button. Something's wrong. You can't have this many people split to where they want to go to war with each other.
So in his head, his thought, centrism. But has Joe Manchin done anything different than Joe Manchin has ever done? No, he hasn't. The only thing that matters here is the optics of it. We need to be bipartisan. We need to be centrist. And basically, if Joe Manchin, this gives him, think of it like 9/11. 9/11 gives Bush the perfect reason to say, okay, well, now we need to go into Iraq. This gives Joe Manchin the perfect excuse to push his brand of politics. Now, this is a position that he is assuming. And yeah, on some level, I would say this is probably representative of the Democratic Party as a whole, if you could take an aggregation, etc. But that's irrelevant to what takes place among people of a particular faction, call them a squad, call them a caucus, whatever you want to call them, that disagree with him and that have all the power in the world, as he does, to prevent that process from going forward, just like he does, in order to get a particular agenda accomplished. And within the context of the back and forth, there's a negotiation. That's politics. The idea that the House is utterly and entirely subordinate to the whims of the Senate is ridiculous. You have every bit as much power and right as he does, working as a collective to crash that bill, to put force the vote into play, meaning make Nancy Pelosi sweat and give up something in order to get that position. Yes, I get that it is not easy, but you took the position. Nobody told you to run for office. You did that. And, we appreciate it, but do your job. Do your job. Joe Manchin shouldn't be able to be out here getting all of these interviews when the reality of things is he prevented workers from getting $15 an hour. And everybody else just went along with it. And now he's about to do the same thing for every other bill that goes forward. This is not a situation where there is no power. The power exists. It's just not being used. Either by Biden, which again, I didn't believe Biden had it in him one way or the other, but more so of people who were considered radicals. Radicals. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.